Let's hypothesize for a moment that the media wanted to push a narrative that there was a serious trend of racist black people killing white people. How would they go about doing that? One thing they would do is take the most egregious stories of black people killing white people and elevate them over stories where the races don't fit the narrative. Each cherry-picked story would further confirm the narrative and shape people's perception, and if anyone questions the racial motive, they can simply point to the statistics that show that black people kill white people much more than white people kill black people. They would also assume that enough people won't think critically enough to realize that those statistics are merely a result of blacks killing more people in general and don't actually prove any racism. But the snowball effect of confirmation bias would keep going, and white anger and paranoia would keep rising until there is a particular case of black-on-white murder that is so egregious it would cause a tipping point in racial conflict. A very similar scenario happened in the lead-up to George Floyd, with the narrative being that racist cops were killing black people. So why were people so convinced that if it was a white person attacking Zimmerman and leaving scars on the back of his head, he wouldn't have been shot? Or if it was a white person who reached for a cop's gun, or who reached into his jacket while the cop repeatedly told him to stop, he would still be alive today? Because it can't just be coincidence that all these victims are black and the shooters were not black. Cherry-picking stories and data is a staple of propaganda and one of the main features of the Black Lives Matter movement. You could just as easily point to examples of white people getting killed under similar circumstances. Here are some examples in an article written by John McWhorter. In 2014, John Crawford, black, was shot dead by police while waving a BB gun. In 2016, Daniel Shaver, white, was waving a pellet gun out of motel window and suffered the same fate. In 2015, Officer Michael Slager shot Walter Scott, black, in the back and killed him as he was running to evade a traffic ticket. The following year, Andrew Thomas, white, was shot in the neck by a police officer and killed as he climbed out of the SUV he had crashed trying to evade arrest. In 2015, Sam Dubose, black, was shot dead as he tried to escape a traffic summons in his car. The same year, Michael Parker, white, was shot dead in the same way while trying to escape a ticket for a moving violation. In 2016, Philando Castile, black, was shot dead in his car by a cop as he reached under his waistband for his license and registration during a traffic stop. The same year, Dylan Noble, white, was shot dead under almost identical circumstances. Also in 2016, Alton Sterling, black, was shot dead in front of a convenience store as he was being detained for unruly conduct. The same year, Brandon Stanley, white, was shot dead in a convenience store for trying to avoid a warrant. Irregardless, by the time George Floyd happened, it became conventional wisdom among liberals that white cops just go around killing black people and get away with it, even though the same thing happened to a white guy in 2016, generating no national news. The 2020 riots were as much about the tolerance of the riots as they were the riots themselves. Ask yourself this: if Tony Timpa had the same coverage as George Floyd, would a speech like this be celebrated among white liberals as it was back then?
As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground, and it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
That's our show. Thanks for watching.